friends, it's Sarah, and it is that time of year again. It's time for the spring equinox of the magical readathon. This will be my 4th year participating in the magical readathon, which means that my character will be entering her final year for the alchemist program. This spring semester, like always, I have 10 books I have to read, and so my TBR looks something like this. First up, for alchemy, I have to read a book with all capitals in the book title, and for that I chose The Madwoman's Ball by Victoria Mass. This is a fiction book originally written in French, and I guess now a major film according to this little book sticker. The synopsis says, The Salpêtrière Asylum, 1885. All of Paris is in thrall to Dr. Charcot and his displays of hypnotism on women who have been deemed mad or hysterical, outcasts from society. But the truth is much more complicated, for these women are often simply inconvenient, unwanted wives or strong-willed daughters. Once a year, a grand ball is held at the Salpêtrière. For the Parisian elite, the Madwoman's Ball is the highlight of the social season. For the women themselves, it is a rare moment of hope. Geneviève is a senior nurse at the asylum. After the death of her beloved sister, she has shunned religion and placed her faith in Dr. Charcot and his new science. But everything begins to change when she meets Eugénie, the 19-year-old daughter of a bourgeois family that has locked away the girl because she claims to talk to spirits. And now Eugénie has a plan, and she needs Genevieve's help. Their fates will collide on the night of the Madwoman's Ball. Also, someone left their sticky notes in the book, so I guess these are mine now. So sorry to that person, but thank you, I guess. The second class I have to take is Animal Studies, where I have to steal a book from another TBR. For this prompt, I chose The Message by Ta-Nehisi Coates, stolen from Deb at DG Reads. I watched her Magical Readathon video and plucked this from that. This is a nonfiction book about how the stories that we tell expose and distort our realities, told in 3 intertwining essays set in Senegal, South Carolina, and Palestine. Coates explores the gap between the stories we report and the realities on the ground. I've never read anything by this author, but I've heard so many good things, so I'm really excited to read the most recent book by him and my first book of his, so should be good. Up next is Astronomy, which is to spin a color wheel and pick a book with that color of cover. The first time I did this, it was silver, and I had a hard time finding a cover that had a lot of silver on it, so I took silver and gold out of the color wheel, spun them again, and I ended up with pink. So I will be reading The Once and Future Sex by Eleanor Janega. This is a nonfiction book, and the synopsis says, What makes for the ideal woman? How should she look, love, and be? In this vibrant, high-spirited history, medievalist Eleanor Janega turns to the Middle Ages, the era that bridged the ancient world and modern society, to unfurl its suppositions about women and reveal what shifted over time and what hasn't. Then I have to read a book with a missing person in it for Demonology. For that, I chose Bone Gap by Laura Ruby. This is a YA book, and it says, Everyone knows Bone Gap is full of gaps. So when young, beautiful Rosa went missing, the people of Bone Gap weren't surprised. But Finn knows what really happened to Rosa. He knows she was kidnapped by a dangerous man whose face he cannot remember. As we follow the stories of Finn, Rosa, and the people of Bone Gap, acclaimed author Laura Ruby weaves a tale of the ways in which the face the world sees is never the sum of who we are. So, sounds a little spooky, a little thrilling, and has a couple of words on it. So, hopefully it's good. It should be good. We'll see. Okay, for Elemental Studies, I have to read a book with a fruit on the cover. This was a tough one, but I was watching some Magical Readathon TBR videos and someone chose Lore Olympus Volume 7 because there's like a little pomegranate on the cover, so I'm choosing that one as well. This is the most recently published volume in the Lore Olympus series, which is a Hades and Persephone graphic novel retelling. I really love the art in these. I read whatever is available on Webtoons over there, but I do enjoy rereading the physical books as well. So I'm excited for that. It should be a nice, quick, easy read to slot into this TBR. The next class I'm reading for is Spells and Incantations, and the prompt for this is to pick a word from my last book title and find another book with that word in the title. I used the book that I was reading at the time that I was making this TBR, which was Still Life with Bones by Alexa Haggerty, and so I chose the word with from that title. Based on that, I'll be reading Run Away With Me by Brian Selznick. This is Brian Selznick's first YA book. He has written a lot of like 9 to 12 books that I have really loved, and they're all kind of in the similar style of there's lots of illustrations, so half the book is like illustrations, and then the other half is just like regular text. This is his first YA book, so I'm really excited to read that. And it says, Danny is 16 and spending his summer in Rome. As his mother works all day in a museum dedicated to the preservation of books, he wanders the city's ancient, lonely streets, not really sure what he's looking for, until a voice calls to him, and a strange, beautiful boy steps into his life, Angelo. Soon, Danny and Angelo are spending all their time together. Danny has never felt anything like this. The electricity of attraction, the fear of abandonment, the sweetness of belonging. He's in love for the first time, but he's also painfully aware that when the summer ends, he'll have to return to America. In the meantime, Angelo, who seems to know all of Rome's twisting corners and hidden histories, delights in sharing its sights and secrets, even as he holds his own secrets just out of Danny's reach. So this is actually an ARC, and it comes out April 1st. How fitting. But yeah, it sounds really good. Like right up my alley. I love a teen coming of age first romance story. It sounds very sweet and very summery. Artificery's prompt was to check the time, and it was noon, and find a title with that amount of words or letters in the title. Now, because my time was 12, I decided to find a title with 12 letters rather than 12 words. That would have been way too much. And so I chose All Better Now by Neal Shusterman. This is the latest YA book by the author of the Smythe series, which I absolutely adored. And this one says, survive a deadly virus and find total happiness. Is it worth the risk? Is it worth the cure? The Crown Royale virus kills 1 out of every 25 people who contract it. But those who survive experience a long-term effect no one has ever seen before. Utter contentment. Stress, depression, greed, all negative feelings are gone. More and more people begin to revel in the mass unburdening, but not everyone. People in power know that without anger or jealousy as motivators, productivity surely will grind to a halt, and the world will be thrown into chaos. The race to find a vaccine begins, while a growing movement of recoveries plans ways to spread the virus as fast as it can. Both sides claim they're saving the world. 3 teens from very different backgrounds who've had their lives upended in very different ways find themselves at the center of a power play that could change humanity forever. So it seems like a really interesting sci-fi book. It is like a pandemic novel, but not a COVID-19 pandemic novel, so I'm hoping that that won't be too traumatic to read. But yeah, I really like, at least based on Smythe, I really enjoyed how Neal Shusterman world builds and the way he like thinks through his sci-fi books. So I'm super excited about this one, and I can't wait to read it. The next prompt is for Inscription, which is to do the first sentence challenge. I have to read the first sentences of 3 different books and then choose one to read just based off of that first sentence. And so the books that I've chosen are right here. I've decided to try Orbital by Samantha Harvey, Martyr by Kaveh Akhbar, or The Benevolent Society of Ill-Mannered Ladies by Alison Goodman. So let's see. This one, the first sentence of this book is... We were to meet him at midnight in the dark walk. Kind of like interesting. Who are they meeting at midnight? That's very scandalous. What is the dark walk? Also sounds scandalous, but I don't know. We'll see. What else do we have? Orbital says, rotating about the Earth in their spacecraft, they are so together and so alone that even their thoughts, their internal mythologies, at times convene. Now that is a better first sentence. Very lyrical, interesting idea. And then Martyr says, maybe it was that Cyrus had done the wrong drugs in the right order, or the right drugs in the wrong order, but when God finally spoke back to him after 27 years of silence, what Cyrus wanted more than anything else was a do-over. That's also a banging first line. I think it's going to be between these two. The Benevolent Society of Ill-Mannered Ladies was kind of fun, but like it wasn't really much to go off of. And if we're going just based off of the first sentences, this one's like a little more lyrical, poetic. This one is like a little more irreverent, kind of funny. I'm trying not to let other things influence my decision, like, oh, this one's short, and like this one is recommended by John Green. Let's go with this one. I think we're gonna go with this one. Because it's kind of lyrical, and I feel like most of my other books on this TBR don't really have that quality, so it might be good to like shake things up a little bit. Yes, we're going to read Orbital by Samantha Harvey, based on its first sentence. The penultimate class I have to take is lore, and for that I have to read a book with a musical term in the title. This one was also kind of difficult. I was trying to think like musical terms and I was like, oh, like, you know, music, lyric, that sort of thing. I ended up picking out the Ballad of Perilous Graves by Jennings. Ballad is the musical word in this. And after choosing it, I was like, a lot of words are actually musical, like measure or rest. Like there's all sorts of things that are musical terms. But we're gonna stick with this for now. Maybe I'll come up with something else later. And this is a fantasy novel that says, Nola is a city full of wonders. An alternate New Orleans made of music and magic. It's a place of sky trolleys and dead cabs, where haints dance the night away and wise women help keep the order. To those from away, Nola might seem strange. To Perilous Graves, it's simply home. In a world of everyday miracles, Perry might not have a talent for magic, but he does know Nola's rhythm as intimately as his own heartbeat. So when the city's great magician starts appearing in odd places and essential songs are forgotten, Perry realizes trouble is afoot. 9 songs of power have escaped from the piano that maintains the city's beat, and without them, Nola will fail. Unwilling to watch his home be destroyed, Perry will sacrifice everything to save it. But a storm is brewing, and the haint of all haints is awake. Nola's time might be coming to an end. So it sounds really interesting. It sounds quite different from most other things I've read, and I'm excited to read this very intriguing fantasy. The last class is Restoration, and the prompt is to read a book with a 4+ star average rating on Goodreads. So for that, I've chosen to read Caste by Isabel Wilkerson. This is a nonfiction book. The subtitle is The Origins of Our Discontents, and the synopsis says, in this brilliant book, Isabel Wilkerson gives us a masterful portrait of an unseen phenomenon in America as she explores, through an immersive, deeply researched narrative and stories about real people, how America today and throughout its history has been shaped by a hidden caste system, a rigid hierarchy of human rankings. Beyond race, class, or other factors, a powerful caste system influences people's lives and behavior and the nation's fate. Linking the caste systems of America, India, and Nazi Germany, Wilkerson explores 8 pillars that underlie caste systems across civilizations, including divine will, bloodlines, and stigma. Using riveting stories about people, including Martin Luther King Jr., baseball's Satchel Paige, a single father and his toddler son, and Wilkerson herself, she shows the ways that the insidious undertow of caste is experienced every day. And there's a whole bunch more, but like that, you get the gist. I don't want to read this whole thing. It's a very long synopsis. But I've heard amazing things about this author, about this book, and I'm very excited to read it. It feels pretty timely, to be honest. So those are the 10 books that I'm hoping to read in the month of April for the Magical Readathon. As I'm a mood reader, they could definitely change. I could use some guild points to buy scrolls to like swap things around, but we'll just see how the month goes. I'm excited about a lot of these books, as I always am, but let me know if you're participating in the Magical Readathon, or if you're not, if any of these books are in your TBR. I'd also love to hear that, but thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hope to see you next time. Now go read a book. Hey, that is my crown. That is not, she is trying to eat my crown that I lovingly crafted at a work event. Daisy's keeper of books. Darknappy slurper of water. I didn't ask for a hole punch. I didn't ask for a hole punch. Look at that. Look at that.